Let me introduce you to one of the proud supporters of From the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa floor covering down in Bondurant. Now, for the last year and a half, you've heard me talk about this great company in the heart of central Iowa. They've got their tough core, click together, 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring, great for you DIYers out there. But even if you're just a contractor or you need a different type of flooring, they've got you covered, whether it be tile showers, carpet. Give Iowa Floor Covering a chance to serve you better and serve your flooring needs. Visit them online at iowafloorcovering.com. That's iowafloorcovering.com. Or you can give them a call at 515-379-7000. That's 515. Well, we are live. Having a few issues with speed of service here, so we'll see if we can get that. And it looks a little blurry on the screen, so I don't know what's going on. We'll try to get the camera fixed. Oh man, I've not had this issue in a while. So apologize for the blurry screen to start with. We'll we'll get that resolved here in just a second. Like I said, technology sometimes decides to move a little slow. We're going to get to our call. We got people who are already lighting up the phone lines wanting to talk to myself and Kachine Alexander. This is our Hawkeye Hangout pre-NCAA tournament show, and we will be joined by none other than Kachine here in just a few minutes. But I guess we can go ahead and take a call here. We don't normally do this. Normally I like to have a little dialogue before we start things, but James, you're here. I'm going to try to fix my camera, so go ahead and do what you say, man. Let's see if I can get this fixed.
I don't see. It's not blurry for me, but
James, are you with us?
Yeah, it's not blurry for me.
It's blurry. You just can't tell. It's because of my. Oh. All right, I don't know what's going on here. Let's see if we can get that fixed. Anyways, all right, James. Maybe that'll be an issue that gets resolved as the show goes on. How are you?
I'm good. First off, who you got winning the whole men's side, the bracket? Who's your winner in the bracket?
Who do I have winning on the men's side? Boy, I'd have to look at who I have. I'm going to put our caller on the phone line on hold. I believe so. I'll just say this because we didn't do a bracket pool this year. We're going to do a bracket pool for the women's. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. I know it's kind of late because the games start tomorrow, but for anybody that wants to join this evening, they can do that. I have got all 4 1 seeds in my Final Four. People will accuse me of being a bandwagon, very non-unique group of selections. But I just think those are the 4 best teams. I think as this season has gone on, we've seen that Duke and Houston and Florida, I think, are clearly the top 3. And I think those teams are all going to make it. Who's the last number 1? Without looking. James,
Florida, who was it? I forgot who it was, actually.
I've got all 4 number 1s in there. And so far, I know my bracket's perfect. I don't know about yours. My bracket is perfect.
It is. Well, it is, but BYU about to lose, so it won't be. But on the girls' side of things,
BYU's about to lose. They're up 12.
BYU's about to win. BYU's about to win, so VCU's about to lose.
Did you have McNeese winning?
Yeah.
I did too. I had McNeese winning, and boy, what a frantic comeback from Clemson. But they got it done. So we had a 12 over a 5, and right now, as you said, BYU leading VCU by 12 late in the second half. I have Gonzaga over Georgia. So after this onslaught of games is finished, the first half of today's games, I will be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-0. So I know most of the favorites won, but having picked the McNeese game, I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Okay, so then on the women's side, this is one of the hardest draws for me ever. I feel like as a Iowa fan and as a person from where I'm from, it's one of the hardest draws for me, just because of who they have to play and who they have to play on each side of the team, right? And whether it be Oklahoma in the second round, it could be even harder, to root against those people where you watch them grow up, as kids, and to see them get to that level, it makes it really tough, and that stuff for sure. And all they've done for my alma mater, when I was in school. So it makes it a little bit tough, but, it's good for them too, with the whole the Jan story with the Oklahoma coach, if they do get that far, obviously, but there's a lot of stories in this half of the pod, right? With Hallie being from Waterloo, and then, and then Sahara also being from Waterloo if they get to play Oklahoma in the second round, right? So it
Yeah,
makes it
when's
a
the last?
fun kind of
I don't know. I
information.
mean, I don't believe, if I'm not mistaken, James, I'd have to go back the year they began the whole home court deal, but I don't believe has Iowa played on the road in the NCAA tournament ever.
I don't
Played
remember.
in the true road game. I don't believe they
No,
have, because when was the first year that the new format was introduced and teams got to
I don't.
officially host in their arena?
I don't remember, but it wasn't that long ago. I know because we
It
had
wasn't that long.
Caitlin for a while, so we've definitely probably
Right.
hosted
So this is going to be a unique
basketball. Yeah,
situation. Now there have been games, if I'm not mistaken, one of the runs to the championship, right? Iowa had to go out to Seattle. Did they play Gonzaga or they played somebody out in Washington, right? And
yeah,
they played somebody out there. Colorado, I think, was closer. The proximity wise, they haven't always had the advantage. Obviously, first two rounds
yeah.
they've had the advantage. Even when they lost to Creighton in the first weekend here a few years ago, they had home court that year as well. So, if I'm not mistaken, without looking, this is the first time they're playing in a true road game, assuming they face Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that there will be some big onslaught of Murray State fans traveling to Norman.
No, I don't know. It's just saying this is probably one of the weirdest brackets I've ever seen pan out, with just with the way it is with the Iowa girls on Murray State, obviously, and then the Iowa girl on Oklahoma as well. With that too, it makes it even more interesting, intriguing story too, and it's just fun to see those kind of things, obviously. But it sucks I can't root for them. I was going into it happy about hopefully maybe not having to worry about Oklahoma and Murray State, and then we get both of them in our half, and I'm like, dang, now I can't root for those girls, and it makes it a little hard, but.
There tends to be, and I could be wrong on this because I'm not some savant as it relates to seeding and NCAA tournament history on
Yeah.
the women's side, but it seems to me that there are more dangerous teams from the 11 seed to the 12 seed, and even maybe
Yeah.
below that
Yeah.
in the women's game.
Yeah,
than
Murray
there is
State's
in the men's game.
Murray State's definitely a really good basketball team, and obviously, they're Hallie being the second leading scorer. She transferred from Bradley. I know a lot about her story, obviously, just because where she comes, she's coming from the here. But she's a real good scorer. Obviously, transferred from Bradley, to Murray State, and I know when she did that, everybody's questioning it, but obviously, she's helped that team a lot. And the team's not no slouch, obviously. I mean, no team in the Big Dance really slouch. Obviously, you're a 1, you should be a 16, right? And I mean, even if you're what are we, a 6, you should be a what, 13? Is that what we're playing? 12.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
13. You still should beat them, obviously, but you never know how it goes, and you see it on even the men's side too, right? So you just never know how it's going to go. So I just hope they're ready more than anything, right? Just the first one under Jan, not Bluter, right? So I hope they're ready and kind of, motivated for that. It's a different group. Obviously, you don't have Caitlin as the leader either. So it makes it harder, right? And I don't know how successful Villanova was under Lucy when Lucy was there, right? At Villanova. I don't know how successful they were in the tournament, right? And they don't have that leader like they did Caitlin. So I don't know. Hopefully she can be that leader, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, I think a couple things. First, I would say if there's any advantage to Iowa here, it's that they've got their best player playing well at this point in the season. Not everybody can say that. Lucy Olson's playing her best basketball now. Two, you have Kylie Fierbach, who's an experienced leader who recently announced she's coming back. That's got to be positive momentum, positive mojo. The fact that she did wait until week of, I actually think may help them. Maybe it won't. I mean, obviously, it's probably going to be a situation where the better team wins. But I do think that's positive momentum, given the fact that they're about to play in a couple of difficult contests. Like you said, Murray State's a team that scores a lot of points. Is going to there's a reason why, aren't they the Racers? Isn't that what they are?
The Racers. Yeah, the Racers.
Oh, they like to get up and down and score points. So from a perspective of scoring, Iowa's going to have to be able to shoot well on the road, which they have done. They didn't do much of the year, but then it was that Washington game out in Seattle that the lid kind of came off and they finally started shooting the ball well on the road, and they've shot the ball well on the road since then. So I think those two things, the Lucy Olson factor, her playing her best basketball in an Iowa uniform now, and then you add in the fact they got positive momentum with the super senior coming back. She's coming back next year. And Kylie, to me, the dark horses, and you've heard Kachine and I talk about this, the dark horse with this team, or you could say dark horses, are the freshmen, because the freshmen have kind of taken a back seat to the upperclassmen as this year has gone on. And that's what you'd hope for to some extent, because There were times, as you know, James, when Iowa was struggling. They were on a 5-game losing streak. The freshmen were outplaying the upperclassmen in some cases. You can't say that now, but if this team's going to make a run to the second weekend or maybe even beyond, you've got to get better production out of Leah Guyton. You got to get better production out of Taylor Strimlow. I even think for them to make a run to the Elite Eight, you're probably going to need to get something out of Tegan Mullaney. I have a hard time seeing this team being able to compete. There's going to be at some point a situation, I think, where Sydney falters in foul trouble, and they either got to go with two bigs or they got to go with Tegan, and Tegan's not proven it yet. So that's a big ask, but I don't think expectations are for this team to make it to the Elite Eight or even the Final Four. So you can kind of play with house money to get through these first 2 rounds, though. I can see them getting to the second weekend if you can get everything they've had here of late. Good production out of Lucy. A Falters crashing the glass. She's been down the last couple of games if you look at her numbers. And then you get solid 3-point shooting and defense from Feuerbach. Great 3-point shooting out of McCabe. They didn't even get great 3-point shooting out of Taylor McCabe in the Big Ten tournament. If they can get those things, I think they're the favorite to advance, regardless of.
Yeah, especially with Taylor, you know how 3-point shooting can. I know how I know how 3-point shooting can go. You can get hot quick, but you also can get cold really quick, right? So like, she hits 1 or 2, she sees 1 or 2 go down. You don't know, she might get hot, right? And she might get on that streak and help you propel in another game too. Because if she sees it goes in, who knows if it carries over from one game to another game, right? It could be 2 games she gets hot, right? Like, you know that as much as anybody else. Where it's like once you see one go down, if you are a 3-point shooter, sometimes it definitely gives you that momentum to get hot too, right? And you can be cold sometimes and then come in the next game and hit 4 threes, and then you're back in your groove again. So you just never know with 3-point shooting. That's how it is, unfortunately. And that's what she does. That's what she is, right? 3-point shooter. So with her, you never know either. But I agree with you. It's good that we got in there, and it's just hopefully we can get a couple wins. But it's funny just the storylines how it pans out, and I'm just happy for them, because I know the young girls need that, right? Like the freshmen, especially like Stremlow and Guyton and Hayden and Mullaney, they kind of need that. This is going to be a good experience for them for sure, going on to their careers too, to play on the road, especially in that situation.
James, I got to ask you this before, and if you got anything else, I'm not booting you off here, but I do want to ask you. Everybody's been asking me, sending me DMs, tagging me in posts. Hey, what is your take on the Iowa men's basketball coaching search? And I know people are nervous as every day goes by. More players are entering the portal. We expected that, but the fact that Darian DeVries is off the board and Drake plays tonight, how big is that in your opinion? Where is your mind as an Iowa fan right now?
To be honest, well, I mean, obviously I want the best coach available, right? The best possible availability, but that's not what happens. I support the team no matter what because I'm a fan, right? And it's tough in the fact of like you don't know what's going to Ben McCollum's mind. I don't know what's going to Ben McCollum's mind. I don't know what's going to Beth Guess's mind, right? Like I have no idea on that front, right? And unfortunately, I can't control that, right? And the whole DeVries situation, I don't know if the rumors are true. I don't know if you've seen the rumors with him where they've been saying that there was a chance where that Indiana deal could have been a month in advance, right? Like where Indiana called him a long time ago and he already told him he was go to Indiana, right? If that is the case, he might have turned down us to begin with, right? Like, I don't know if those rumors are true or not, right? But saying they are.
Well, it's not really a rumor because Darian DeVries basically
said
it.
Yeah. So I'm saying like, I don't know if he.
Darian DeVries basically, and you know this, but Darian DeVries, for anyone that doesn't know, if you listen to his press conference from earlier today, former Drake head coach Darian DeVries, who was at West Virginia for 1 year, basically admitted that Indiana had been in touch with him during the season. He basically said, well, they've respected our season as it's transpired. But in some regards, you're basically saying, yeah, they had made contact, but they let things play out. I thought it was a kind of a foot in mouth moment for him. But look, it's not like we all said, at least I did. I said, hey, if Beth Getz plans on moving on, I hope she has made contact. So you can't really blame Indiana.
No.
I know fans are frustrated that DeVries is going to Indiana, not Iowa, but you can't really blame Indiana. And frankly, how can you blame DeVries for taking that phone call? That doesn't mean that he wasn't loyal to his team and he didn't let the season play out. I mean, it sounds like they didn't have deep conversations until the season was over. But I wouldn't be surprised if Beth attempted to make contact with DeVries and there were conversations. But the bottom line is Indiana did the same and they can just offer so much more. It is going to be weird having him on the other side of the sidelines, right? Or on the other side, other bench. But hey, it's a better program right now. It's a better job. It's a better opportunity. There's more funding. It's a blue blood. So now the big question then, I know people want to draw the connections between West Virginia and McCollum. For people that don't know, Drake head coach Ben McCollum has a strong connection. He used to be a coach under the West Virginia AD. Am I correct in saying that,
No,
James?
the AD hired him at Northwest
Yep.
Missouri State, and then left to go to West Virginia. But he hired McCollum at Northwest Missouri State.
Right.
But
So, I mean, there's reason for thinking that West Virginia will probably make a push for Ben McCollum. They probably already have begun doing that. If Ben McCollum is any sort of a coach, he is at least putting those he's at least tabling those conversations. And my guess is that that's what he's done. So for people that are frustrated with Iowa, if they lose tonight, if Drake loses tonight, I'm not saying you root against Drake, but I know people that are rooting against Drake because they want this thing to hurry up and go. If they win, say they upset who do they play? Missouri, which by the way,
yeah, Missouri.
interesting watching Perkins.
Tony Perkins, yeah.
Well, if they upset Missouri and they advance to Saturday, this thing gets a whole lot more interesting because again, the portal officially opens for everybody starting next week. If they somehow made it to the Sweet 16, boy, that puts these teams, these programs in such a difficult position. But I don't want to get into too far of a rabbit hole as it relates to men's basketball.
No, yeah, but
it is noteworthy.
No, yeah, you asked me the question. That's really what I'm more scared about is not knowing who the coach is in the portal opening, and then you lose guys like who might have a chance of coming back if you knew who the coach was, like a Price or a Josh. Not saying they are, right? Not saying they're at all, but like a Price or a Josh Dix. Maybe they're interested in coming back, seeing who the coach is. But if you wait too long, they might not be able to see who the coach is, and they're already finding a new home, if that makes sense, right? And then you don't even have a chance to retain those guys on top of trying to get other guys who you might have a chance to get at Iowa that already go somewhere else because the portal's open. You don't need to take too much time, right? That's another thing that's a little bit scarier too, but it'll be interesting to see. But I'll let you get to the other callers and just want to say I appreciate you guys for the rest of the year. And no matter what, I'm going to be happy. Unfortunately, no matter what, I'm going to be happy on Saturday, whether we win or lose because of Howie being on that side. But I hope I'm happy as a Hawkeye fan, right? And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But
you got it, sir.
Yep.
Thank you, James. Always enjoy your calls.
Yep. Enjoy your night.
All right, folks. I see a couple of people who are wondering, where is Kachine? Kachine is, I believe, minutes away from joining us. She made it. She booked it home. I'll just say that. She's had a long day, so we appreciate Kachine taking the time. But these first few minutes, I had planned to kind of make my grand entrance and get that junk out of the way. Doug 515. Thank you, Doug. He honors the show with a super chat. He says it's been an honor to be a part of From the Hawkeye of the Storm podcast the last 3 years. I want to thank Corey and all involved, but I will be entering my name into the portal and keeping my options open. Well, Doug, I'll say this, and this is both a rip on my show and a compliment to the show. Where are you going to go? and again, I'm not saying that, again, rip and compliment to the product here. I don't believe there's any other option out there, and I know you're tongue-in-cheek with this comment, but that's what I love about this show, the uniqueness of being able to interact with you guys, not only in the chat, but over the phone, over video, and then also being able to interact with former players, former coaches. So you enter your name in the portal all you want, Doug, because we all know you're going to come right back here, but we'll see if your scholarship's still available when you do. Anyways, just kidding, Doug. Thank you for being here. Kelly, and thank you for the super chat, Doug. Kelly says, what's up? I have to take my granny to the chiropractor at 5:30, so you're going to miss the cash bash. It's hashtag sad face, but she reminds everybody, hit that like button, folks. Yes, as we wait for Kachine Alexander, who will be joining us momentarily, a good way that you can show your appreciation in the meantime is by smashing the like button, but don't hurt your keyboard, don't hurt your phone. Hit the like button, the thumbs up below the video. It does help us in the algorithm. And for people that aren't aware, this show can be found on all the major podcast platforms, Spotify, Amazon, Apple. If you enjoy watching the show or listening to shows like this, over podcasts. I know a lot of my friends like to listen to the show after the fact when they're jogging, when they're driving, etc. You can do that on your favorite podcast platforms. If you have YouTube Premium, you can listen to the show via YouTube with your screen off. I know that's a feature that a lot of people enjoy. But again, if you're interested in finding the podcast, just search From the Hawkeye of the Storm on your favorite platforms. You can also click the links in our description. Let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling Hawkeye Hangout here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
It's Kyle Thompson.
Hey, Kyle. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Let's see. We're about a little over an hour away from Drake in Missouri. I'm going to look forward to that one. We're probably only going to take about another hour here live on the air. So I'm enjoying my first day of March Madness and looking at the bracket, and I'm doing pretty good there. And I'm looking forward to the women on Saturday. So, hey, it's a great weekend, even though the men aren't involved.
Yeah. I didn't look at the women's bracket, but who else is in the region for the Hawks in the women's bracket besides Oklahoma?
Who else is in the region?
Yeah, like who's the number 1 seed?
Well, we're gonna show that here in a little bit. UConn is in the region. We're gonna once Kachine joins us, we're gonna throw it up on the screen. So we'll be able to answer your question here in just a little bit because we're gonna break down all the people, all the big names in Iowa's section and the players in the region.
I'm really, your last caller, I am getting anxious about who's going to be the men's coaches. Like, I just want to get it done so we can have a team for next year. Because I feel like some of the guys that are transferring, we won't have a team, and we're probably going to have open tryouts for that.
Well, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. All I can say is, when your potential candidates are in the tournament. The only reason Indiana was able to get DeVries now is because their team missed the tournament. So I know a lot of people would love to have had DeVries. He was at the top of my list, but I remember when Fran was fired here a week ago, I said, hey, my 1A and 1B are DeVries and McCollum. So if Beth is able to land Ben McCollum, it's not going to be until after today anyways, because they're playing tonight. If that happens, all is good. And a lot of these guys that have entered the portal have a chance to return. I.e. Price Sanford, Laji Dembele. I don't know about I don't think Iowa stands much of a chance to retain Freeman and Dix and Harding. I do think those guys are sayonara, but the other guys, I think they do. Koch is another one. So let's just wait and see. Not everybody's in the portal yet. I know it seems like they are. Traore's not in the portal yet. The Miami transfer, Johnson Arrigu, is not yet in the portal officially. So, hey, whoever comes here is also going to bring players with them. It's almost a certainty that they do, unless it's somebody that's not currently coaching as a head coach at the college level. But I understand the anxiety with this, and I do think they need to get somebody this weekend. The problem is, if Drake wins, what do you do? But that's the nature of when the portal opens and closes. And yeah, I mean, I don't think there's reason to be nervous, but I understand why you are.
Yeah, whoever comes here has a lot of work to do.
I agree. Yep, they sure do.
And back to the women's side, I'm really proud of what Jan did in her first year. I mean, how she kept the team together despite that 5-game losing streak. They really stick together, like came together as a team, play really well, and made the tournament. Hopefully make them go on a little deep run this year. I didn't have any expectations before this year, but they exceeded it for me, and I really hope they can make it to the second weekend.
Absolutely. I think they got a good shot at that. I think they do. I haven't revealed my women's bracket. I kind of wanted to have a conversation with Kachine before I put in my final picks. But, Kyle, make sure you put your picks into our group as well that we'll be talking about here in a little bit. And I do think this team has a good shot of making it to the Sweet 16. Beyond that, I question. I don't know matchup-wise if they match up great with the big dog in their section. But again, we'll talk about that here in a little bit.
All right. Well, I won't take too much of your time. That's all I got. Have a good one.
All right, sir. Appreciate that. And by the way, what did I say? UConn was the one. UConn's the 2 in the section. And of course, the 1 in that section of the draw. Let's see. The 1 in the section of the draw is USC. But Iowa would play UConn potentially in the Sweet 16 if Iowa were to advance past the second round. Let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling Hawkeye Hangout here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Angelo.
Hey, Angelo. How are you?
Oh, good. Just want to say you do a great job, Corey.
Thank you, sir. And I got your email. It's much appreciated. I sometimes I don't get all the emails responded to, but I do appreciate your kindness and your compliments. So thank you.
I could start with a smart aleck comment about Luka and the Dallas Mavericks, but I'm not going
to.
To.
Yeah, hey, smart aleck away, because I'm a Lakers fan this summer. I mean, the Mavs are going to.
I never thought I'd be a Lakers I never thought I'd be a Lakers fan in my whole life, but because I was a diehard Celtics fan. But anyway, I want to know a little bit about McNeese State or whoever McNeese. I don't know anything about it. I know they got this girl. I'm from Waterloo. That 5'6" girl from Waterloo West.
Yep.
I don't know anything. Have you done any scouting of them at all, or know anything about them?
Well, first of all, what I know is Caitlin Young is really good. And when you look at first of all, it's Murray State. I understand why you said McNeese because McNeese,
Murray State. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And the McNeese just beat Clemson on the men's side, so I know we've brought that name up already today. But Caitlin Young is really good. They score a lot of points. If you look at I was looking at this earlier. If you look at their team statistics, I'll pull this up here. They've got 4 players averaging at least 14 points a game. Caitlin Young leads the charge, 22, 6, and 3. As I believe she plays the 4, and then you have Haley Pook, who scores 17 a game along with 4.5 assists. They shoot well from 3. They shoot 36% from outside the 3-point arc. Of course, score a lot of points at this level. You're probably going to shoot well from 3. Haven Ford is another double-digit scorer. I mean, these numbers are maybe as impressive as any. 15 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals a game, only 2.9 turnovers per game, and she's shooting 38% from 3. So they throw a lot at you. I haven't watched a ton of their film. Obviously, they won the Missouri Valley, and that's a good league. We saw Iowa fall a few years ago. I'm trying to think of when Creighton beat Iowa a couple of years ago. Of course, that was a Creighton team that featured, I believe they featured the Jensen girl, who's now honorable mention All-American at Creighton. But I can't remember if they were in the Missouri Valley at that point or not. But it's a good league. Obviously, the Iowa played Drake earlier this year, and Drake finished top quarter of the league. But no, I'm going to rely on Kachine a lot on this one because she knows a lot of these. Having coached at James Madison and followed the sport as long as she has, I think she's going to be a great resource.
I think our defense, like, they'll have a tough time hitting threes with our defense because we got some excellent defensive players. I just wonder how big are their bigs,
Well, I can tell you just looking through their roster, as I said, they've got, let's see, Jada Cook is one of their, I believe, leading scorers. Haven Ford's only 5'6". She's one of their leading scorers. Let me pull up their stats again here. So, yes, Young is 6'1". My guess is that will be Sydney Falter matched up against her. If we're just talking about man defense, I don't expect Iowa to play a lot of zone against this team. I could be dead wrong. Again, we'll ask. Haley Pook is the girl from Waterloo, and that will probably be a Kylie Feuerbach assignment, I would assume. But then Haven Young is only 5'6", so they're not real big. I think the biggest fear I have on paper with them is Iowa getting broken down on the ground, because if they're playing man-to-man, I think Feuerbach has proven she can stay in front of people. Taylor McCabe has improved. However, if there's a weakness there defensively for Iowa, it's Taylor McCabe's ability to move laterally and stay in front of whoever she's defending.
And Lucy can guard.
Lucy can guard too. Yeah, Lucy can guard too. But they have a couple of smaller, quicker guards, along with a couple of. They just have a really balanced starting lineup. And then you have Ava Learn, who's also averaging. She's averaging 14 and 10 on the year, and I think she plays the 3, I believe. So, I mean, they're an interesting team on paper just because of the extremes there. You got a couple of 6'1" players that can score it, that can rebound, but they don't really have anybody big that's going to cause Iowa problems. In fact, I'm looking through to find their biggest player that actually plays. I mean, they don't have anybody even listed as a forward that's averaging. They have one player listed as a forward that's averaging double digits as it relates to minutes. Their other forwards, Adeline Coling, is 6'1", and she's averaging 0.8 points per game, playing 4 minutes a game. Adriana Blazquez is averaging, let's see, what is she averaging? 0.2 point. I mean, see, they're not playing bigs. They've got 3 forwards, and they're all playing less than 5 minutes per game, with the exception being Caitlin Young, who's their leading scorer. So they're interesting from that perspective. Again, I think dribble penetration's probably the biggest concern I have right off the bat.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's just, I know nothing about them, so I just, but
yeah, I'm definitely no expert. I tell you, for people that don't know, I brought up Kachine. She coached at James Madison, and that's a really good program. That was a team Iowa could have easily been matched up with in this tournament had their conference tournament went differently. So she understands this level. She's recruited against a lot of these coaches, as has Tania Davis, who is at Nebraska Omaha. So she'll be probably, I don't know that she'll be the scout, but she's a good resource for matchups against the Murray States of the world. So they'll be ready to go, and they've had some time since the selection day.
Yeah, and I think our guards are good defensively. They can hang with anybody. I heard that Waterloo West girl, the only reason she didn't go bigger is because she's only 5'6", to a bigger school. So that's all I got for you today.
Okay, sir. Appreciate your call. Enjoyed it.
Thank you, Corey. You do a great job.
Thank you, sir. Good calls here early. Good calls. Eddie Congress in the chat. Is Josh Dix any good? Asking for a fan of a school rumored to be interested in his services. Oh, boy. Yeah. So early schools in on Josh Dix. If people missed this earlier, why don't we go ahead and just throw this up in while we're waiting for Kachine. She should be here with us any time now. I'll throw this up in the... I'll throw a banner up here, actually. So Josh Dix did enter the portal here this week. It's not a video I've cut yet because we've had a flurry of other entries into the portal. But yes, Josh Dix entered earlier this week. And is he any good? Yeah. In fact, who was it earlier today? I believe it was either Robbie Hummel or Rafael Davis, somebody for Big Ten Network, posted something about Josh Dix, about how good this kid is and how underrated he is. I was shocked when I said, and I've watched less college basketball nationally since this show launched, especially the show with Kachine, because it just eats up a lot of time, and I love it. But I watch less basketball on a national scale than I ever have in my life. So I'm certainly in no position to vote for all conference teams or certainly all American teams. I do think it's ironic that I say that because I think there's a lot of voters out there that don't watch the other games, don't watch the other teams. But that's, I guess, a discussion for another day. But I was shocked that Josh Dix didn't even get honorable mention all Big Ten. I think he's the best player on the team. I've been saying that a long time, with all due respect to Peyton Sandfort. And he's going to get paid somewhere. I mean, he's going to get paid. He can make just about any shot. He finishes at the rim better than anybody else on this team. Got a great step back. I think he's got NBA game. I think the one question for the next level is athleticism, at ability to defend. Now, there were people within the Iowa circle that touted him as some great defender. He was one of their best defenders relative to the rest of the team, because it doesn't sound like our commenter here in the chat is an Iowa fan that asked the question. So if you haven't watched Iowa basketball, there aren't many people that defend. And so Josh Dix is a decent defender. Now, what he'll be wherever he ends up, if he goes to a blue blood, I think he has a chance to do that. He may be a bit of a liability at times against the quicker guards. And certainly in the NBA, he'll be a liability, I think. Unless he can improve lateral quickness and discipline, he'll have a year to learn under whoever he ends up playing for. I don't think it'll be Iowa. I don't think he's coming back. And I'm not going to sit here and say I hope he doesn't. I made this comment, I think it was yesterday, in talking about Cooper Koch, who also entered the portal. I think there's a good chance he comes back. But Josh Dix is likely going to get high six figures. I mean, I'm no NIL expert. I'm no collective expert. But I think he's going to be wanted. I mean, we've already had reports from On3. Joe Tipton of On3 already has reported that Alabama, Creighton, Illinois, Nebraska, Tennessee, Iowa State have already been in contact with him, according to sources. So, and that was, I think, 2 days ago when he initially entered. And I'm sure people have been tampering. But as I said, he can make all the shots, got a great step back, great fadeaway jumper from 2, which is sort of a lost art. There aren't a ton of players who can make that shot or like to make that shot, but he can also hit threes without looking at Iowa's 3-point shooters percentage-wise. My guess is that he's toward the top as it relates to overall percentage. He's certainly higher than Peyton Sandfort. He doesn't force shots, which I think is a good thing. He's going to be a 3-and-D type player. Now, he doesn't have great size at 6'2", but boy, wherever he ends up, he's going to be a starter. In fact, the comment that was made earlier today, let me see if I can pull this up on Twitter. This is from Rafael Davis. Yeah, so Rafael said, and I quote, "I do not think people realize how good Josh Dix is, man. Dude could go to any team in the conference and start day one." Now, here's the deal. This is a further indictment on Iowa's ability to win, right? It is, because this kid is the real deal. I've been saying this for a long time, even during the season before we knew that Fran McCaffrey was gonzo. I made that statement that, man, this kid is good and he ought to be playing for a better team. Again, I don't want him to go anywhere, but I just don't know that Iowa can compete financially. I think he's probably got the best valuation, NIL valuation, of anybody on the team. I mean, maybe Owen Freeman because he's a big, but Josh Dix is just a better player. Now, he only gives you 1 year. Owen Freeman will give, wherever he goes, he'll give him a couple of years as it relates to eligibility. But look at that step back. And he shoots contested jump shots all day long and makes a lot of them. He makes tough shots, finishes with both hands. Again, can shoot it anywhere on the floor and defends. So yeah, and he's played some point at Iowa. That's the other thing. He's played point guard at Iowa. So he'll enter the portal, and maybe, just maybe, he'll consider a return. I just don't think Iowa has the funding to be able to make that work. And I hope I'm wrong, because I believe, again, he's their best player. But again, he entered the portal here this week, and sounds like, according to Rob Reinhart of, let's see, where is Rom? He's looks like an Auburn reporter, that he's already heard from the likes of Michigan State, Louisville, Auburn, and Providence as well. On3 has him as their number one portal prospect. Now, again, the official portal window hasn't opened, but it's open for Iowa because of the head coaching change. And hey, Indiana's one to watch because of the Darian DeVries connection. He recruited him at Drake. Darian DeVries did. Now, Josh Dix said when he initially entered the portal here this week, here is an official statement from Josh Dix. So for Iowa fans who are curious about if he mentioned anything about returning, he did not. And there were several guys who did. He said, "Dear Hawkeye Nation, I want to thank Coach McCaffrey and the entire staff for giving me the opportunity to live out my dream. Wearing the black and gold has been a true blessing, and I will forever cherish the memories I made in Iowa City. To my teammates and managers, thank you for showing up every day to work alongside me. We built a true brotherhood. To the fans, I appreciate your support and the great experiences along the way. Due to the recent coaching change, and after reflecting with my family, I've decided to enter the transfer portal." I do kind of think it's funny, these kids like Josh Dix, Owen Freeman, and even Brock Harding, who keep citing the coaching change. But all three of those guys were rumored to leave, especially the other two from Moline. They were rumored to leave mid-season. So I'm not saying that was official, but I think all three of these guys, especially the other two, Freeman and Harding, were gone no matter what. I really do believe that. I don't think the coaching change. I think the coaching change was just an opportunity to get in the portal earlier. I think they'd been tampered with, and they had an idea what their value was elsewhere, and that's the problem with college sports. So Josh Dix enters the portal. Great kid, as far as I'm aware. Silent killer, silent leader. I think his work ethic and his example on the court is the way he leads. So that's my valuation. That's my 2 cents as it relates to the news that Josh Dix, Iowa guard, who has 1 year of eligibility remaining, has entered the portal with aspirations of going elsewhere. All right, maybe we'll get back to women's basketball. I know Doug is here, and Doug, you are an Iowa men's basketball junkie.
Yeah, not at home, at the shop, so this is a little weird for me. So
that's okay. I hope I hadn't.
I'm out of the portal. Nobody wanted me, Corey. I'm out of the portal. Right. I've been trying to. Sorry for interrupting. I tried to get on other podcasts, and I get in their live chat, but they don't answer me back as much as you. And I think you're one of the best. I appreciate you letting us do this. So
I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
You've watched as much Iowa basketball as I have. Is my evaluation on Josh Dix fair?
Yeah, he wouldn't be getting those type of looks if he wasn't that good. I know a lot of people don't believe that. I didn't think he was that good, but I would believe if Tom Izzo wants you, you're probably pretty good. If Pearl down in Auburn wants you, you're probably pretty good. Those were big names. Those are several schools that will maybe be in the Final Four, and he's going to get $600,000, $800,000, $900,000. As far as people wondering if they'll have a team next year, there's 2,000 names in the portal. I already am going over North Dakota, the Summit League and all those. I've picked 12 players already that I want them to go after. Also, Bennett Schultz, if he comes, Owen and Josh aren't on any mock boards I can find for the NBA. Bennett Schultz is. That would be our best player. He will be an all Big Ten player if he comes here. So,
hold on real quick. Start over. Start over with what you just said about mock drafts. Go ahead.
Drake's top player might not come with Ben because he's getting looked at by NBA. He's on mock NBA draft boards, and none of our players are. None of our former players or guys in the portal are.
Well,
so that would be a bigger.
Josh Dix has crept up on some. He has crept up on a couple, but no, he's not a guy. I don't think he's a guy who would be wise. It's kind of like Peyton Sanford last year. Maybe you could get a two-way if you leave, but be able to make. I think guys are. I don't know about Sturts, but I think guys are going to be able to make more money. A lot of these kids by transferring elsewhere and getting a paycheck, especially guys who are projected to go second round.
Owen, especially. I think you'll see less and less guys do two-way contracts when they can get the NIL deals they can get. I'm just trying to tell people, don't worry. I do know that she's interviewed the Bradley coach and the Utah State coach by the 50 things I've read on both 247 and On 3, but those message boards might not mean anything. They always told me I'm dumb on them, but according to all of them, again, I'd rather be on your show. I got all those. That's just why I come on here sometimes. But I think Bennett's the top candidate, and I really do believe that that's where they're going to go. He will bring a few players with him. I think there's a chance we keep Cooper, Lodgy, and Price. There's a chance. There's maybe not. I mean, we don't know.
I say this right now. I don't know that I want to keep Lodgy.
Yeah.
And that's not a personal thing. I'm really saying not a personal thing at all. I just don't know that I want to use a scholarship up on Lodgy Dembele. I really don't.
And that opens up a lot of possibilities. The coach will choose. He has 15 scholarships. He will choose the players he has. And we don't know anything right now because we don't have a coach. He might not want any of our players. And but we're pretty sure.
Do you think it is McCollum? Just go on a limb. You think it's McCollum? If they lose
I
tonight,
don't want to put my hopes out. First of all, I do want to see him win. I would love to see him get to the Sweet 16, but that would really hurt.
That doesn't help Iowa's cause.
I know, but just for him to say,
I don't think rooting against Drake tonight does not make you a bad person.
I don't like it.
Root for Tony Perkins, Doug. Root for Tony Perkins and his. Aren't you happy for that young man?
Well, like the uncle and the uncle did. Yeah, Tony. Well, they also have a former Iowa State player that I don't like. And the former Iowa State player that was the head case. None of his teammates. Girl. He came with him from UNLV and South Dakota State.
Okay, I know.
With TJ.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He was with TJ. He was with TJ. This is like his third school. He's gonna. None of his teammates. I don't know if anyone knows him. Caleb Girl. Yeah. Caleb Girl. Okay. Right. Anyway, he plays for Missouri now too. But my last point with the men, because it should be about the women, and I'm sorry I came on here and talked about the men. That's the reason why. I
was talking about the men before Kachine got
here. That's the reason why I came on. The women deserve way more praise, and they'll knock off Oklahoma. And I think a lot of people will come down to Oklahoma and watch that game down in Norman. And I think Lucy will have a great game. And I really do. You know what's funny? And again, I'm pretty dumb, but I'm more worried about the Murray State team than I am of Oklahoma. I did know Jenny Lillis a little bit. She's a couple years older than me. I played against her brother down at Dowling a few times. So good family, good person. But again, I'm not too worried yet about the men. If they get, again, the biggest thing, my biggest worry about our men's basketball program is our NIL being so low, and that has nothing to do with the coach. Has nothing to do. We can't get players. We couldn't keep Owen.
Nothing to do with the coach. You can't say it has nothing to do with the coach.
Yeah, I agree.
Like these people that say, "Well, Fran didn't have anything to work with," and I'm like, "Well, then guess what? then it's your job to go get more money. And maybe he tried and failed, but if he tried and failed, then he tried and failed. You can't say it doesn't involve the coach. And it's just like,
well, I misspoke a little bit, but
it's fundraising. That's what it is. It's the administration and it's the coach, but more specifically with NIL funding, now that it's relative to each sport.
Yes.
It comes down to the coach more than it does the AD, in my opinion, at least to some extent, in some regards.
The last 2 points with that, though, I don't think we were keeping Owen, Brock, or Josh, even if Fran was retained. So please stop. Again, the team will be a new team next year. There'll probably be 12 new players. I hope that, like I said, hope Cooper, Price, maybe not Laji, Seydou Traore would be an interesting one to because I think you can develop him. I have no idea about Tajo.
I think I'll tell you what I'd do if I was the next head coach. I'd go hard after Josh Lewis because guess what? He doesn't have a home. So I don't know where. Maybe he's already got an idea of where he's going, but why not?
Yeah.
Go after him.
Yeah.
If he fits your system at all, go after him.
Yeah.
And I see the same thing about Johnson Arrigu. Those are good recruits. Nobody was denying that it was a good class that Fran had coming in. I'd be re-recruiting probably all of those kids.
What I'd say is don't worry if they don't. I will be very disappointed if they don't get Ben. But let's try to just be rational, okay? I know that's not good for fan bases they ever hear, and I know I've been argumentative with some of you, but we don't know what's going to happen yet. And maybe the Utah State coach is a great coach. He beat our butt this year. You were down at Kansas City and watched that. I don't know. I mean, I don't really want the Bradley coach too bad. I've said Bryce Drew. I want Ben. Ben, again, I wanted Darren and DeVries, and I can't believe that he didn't come here, and that was money. Maybe we don't have the money. Maybe the program isn't as bad as some of you say, but I have hope that Iowa men's basketball can win. I have hope. Again, the darkest before the dawn. We don't have a team or a coach right now. Hopefully we get both there pretty quick. So thank you guys. Best of luck to everyone. Good luck, women.
You, sir. Thank you, Doug. All right, folks. Quick question from, let's see. T. Hank says, what is the group name for the tournament bracket? So the bracket group. I don't think I read your question. I understand what your question is. So let me throw it up in the what am I trying to say? The description. Our bracket challenge. And this is just to make sure we're clear. This is women's basketball. And I just launched this here a little bit ago. So the link to that is in the description. I'll also throw it up in the live chat. Let's add our good friend, Kachine Alexander, to the show. Kachine, good to see you.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for taking the time. I know
you a lot.
So we're not going to be here too long. I know a lot of Iowa fans are interested in watching big NCAA tournament game here coming up in just about 40 minutes between Drake and Missouri because obviously the head coaching situation and Iowa transfer, former Iowa guard Tony Perkins plays for the Tigers now. So we'll get to that. But I know, first of all, I've been on here for almost a half an hour and we haven't even looked at the bracket. So let's not waste time. Let's look at this bracket. And you, Kachine, tell me, when you look at this thing, you tell me the first thing that stood out when you initially saw it. And now that you've had time to kind of think about the draw, what do you think about Iowa's draw? And I'll try to zoom in on Iowa's region here.
I think that it's an interesting bracket. Let me say that. And the only reason why I say that is because Notre Dame at 3 is crazy. I feel very bad for Texas. We'll start there. That's horrible. That is a horrible draw. But USC, UConn, Kentucky. No, listen, Kentucky, that might be a white horse there. All in the same bracket. Oklahoma, to me, I've never been like, and I love Oklahoma because my former assistant coach that used to coach for Iowa coaches at Oklahoma now. But I think that could be an easy upset from somebody. So I'm not keen on them being a, what are they, a 3? They're probably one of the, I'm not going to say one of the worst 3. Who are my 3s? I have
The
LSU.
Yep.
Who's the 3 in the South Carolina bracket?
The 3. Let's see. South Carolina's up here.
North
3
Carolina.
in that bracket is North Carolina, and then of course Oklahoma, and then you mentioned Notre Dame.
All right, I'll give them a double. Okay, but they're on the bottom of the top of the 3s. So, but overall, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think Murray State is tough. I'm definitely going to say that. I think that they run the ball a lot. They're going to come hungry. That's just the NCAA tournament. Everybody feels like they can play with everybody. The miracle of the NCAA March Madness. So that's that. And we all know that Iowa has had their moments where we're like, who is this team? And we've also had moments where we're like, holy hell, we're playing with UCLA and USC. Like, so I would say I'm a little nervous for that, but I still feel good based off of how we ended the season.
I don't know that there was a team that fit this. Like when we had conversations about this earlier, and again, I apologize if I'm kind of jumping around here because we're a little short on time for our show this evening, but Murray State as an 11, I don't know much of anything about Fairfield. South Dakota State is dangerous. Nebraska is obviously Iowa. Well, I guess bracket-wise, they probably
have Iowa State on the other side. They wouldn't
Iowa State's
against
an 11.
Them on the first.
They won they won their play-in. I'm trying to see the other 11s and 12s. Don't know much about South Florida. Columbia, you kind of put them on. That was a team you were kind of nervous to have Iowa matched up with. I'm just saying there are a lot of tricky teams in the 11 range.
6-11 is 6-11 and 5-12 are like the biggest upsets in the first round. Like that happens more often than anything else.
But man, I would have much rather, and I know there's a difference between 11 and 12, but I would have much rather play Ball State. You know, I got 5-seed Ole Miss playing Ball State, who's 27-7, as opposed to Iowa having to play Murray State. Just because of how Murray State plays. Now, I asked this question earlier, brought it up, and by the way, David, I think earlier I said Murray State was a 13 seed. Yes, they're an 11 seed, 7-10, 6-11, 5-12. Anyways, so thank you for that. And T. Hink, to answer your question, just search From the Hawkeye of the Storm on ESPN. I just launched it, so I apologize for the delay in that, but if you want to join the Bracket Challenge group, it's over on ESPN.
You had to send me that because
I will send it to you. And I haven't even inserted my bracket yet, so I'll blast that out tonight as I'm watching March Madness.
Kind of close to the top last year, so I gotta.
You might want to quit while you're ahead, though, Kachine, because sometimes the smartest people don't. They typically finish.
Listen, I was close to the top last time. Somebody beat me out, but we'll see.
It's hard to do. By the way, I'm not trying to brag about this, but what's your bracket look like on the men's side yet to this point? Do you know
what's funny? I've been so busy, I didn't even fill one out this year.
Oh, you've
unfortunate as it may be. So I told myself I'm gonna just fill it out for sport for the moving forward because I want to do something. So
I'm 8-0 so far. So I called McNeese over Clemson, got that one right. Called Creighton over Louisville, got that one. So most of them have been pick the favorites. But anyways, so as it relates to Murray State, I know people. They think of Murray State and their mascot is a racer, right? Whatever that is. They get up and down. They score a lot of points, and they do have a player that Iowa fans high school basketball fans are familiar with around here. Is it Haley Pook? I don't know how you pronounce her last name.
Poke. I think it's Poke.
Okay, so she's averaging 17 and 4. She's a 5'6" sophomore guard out of Waterloo. And it was mentioned earlier, I think it was James who brought up how her size maybe prevented her from getting more of the high major offers, but she's just a sophomore, and she's one of, I believe, 4 players on this Murray State team that is averaging 14 points or more, and they don't play with a lot of size. Caitlin Young is their leading scorer, who's 6'1", but they don't have another forward listed on their roster who's playing more than 3.5 minutes a game, Kachine. So when I look at this on paper, I say, okay, Iowa should be able to take advantage of that from a size
I'd
perspective.
be playing a zone. That's what I would do if I was Murray State. But
Miss Murray State. I was gonna say not as Iowa, as Murray
no,
State.
heck no.
But my question for you defensively, if you're Iowa, then
Mhm.
a lot of their production comes from their guard court.
Mm-hmm.
How much of a concern is their ability with these quicker, smaller guards to break down Iowa's backcourt, specifically Taylor McCabe, who's
We
one of
played with most. We played against that already. We haven't had. I mean, hell, we played against Juju Watkins for God's sakes. Like, I'm not. I'm not really worried about. What I'd be worried about is if they had a dominant post player. That's what I'd be worried about, because we a little thin in that aspect. So I would be a little worried about that. But their guards are their driving force, I'm not really worried about that. I feel like our guards through this year have proved that they can guard. So I'm not really worried about it. I think our perimeter defense has been very good all year. So,
folks, we want to get to our next call. Landon's been on hold for a long time. Landon, appreciate you calling in, sir. Welcome.
You know what? It's been a while, Corey. I haven't been on in a while. I've been busy out here in Colorado, but I guess we'll start talking about women. But I want to touch a little bit about the men later on. I'll be quick, but let's start with the women because I like to say everything repeats every 4 years. It feels like, this year having the Chiefs lose the Super Bowl again and Iowa having another opportunity to face UConn possibly in the Sweet 16 4 years later in a very similar situation. I feel like a little bit to 4 years ago back when Caitlin was a freshman. Very different, obviously, but I kind of like this Murray State matchup. But I truly have a feeling that FGCU could beat Oklahoma, and I could see an Iowa FGCU matchup in the second round. I mean, I've looked a lot into FGCU, and I don't know what you guys have looked into them too, but, obviously a 30-3 record playing in a weaker conference, but I have a feeling that if that upset goes down, that the Hawkeyes are going to have a really good chance, at least assuming they can handle Murray State, to get to the Sweet 16.
I don't know much about FGCU this year, Kachine, but that's been a really good mid-major program.
Well, for a long time. Mm-hmm.
I mean, your thoughts on that? Obviously, that'd be winning in a true road environment, but any thoughts on Landon's prediction there that they could knock off the Sooners?
If it was in a neutral site, I'd probably bet my money on that. But considering it's at home, that's going to be tough. So, but, never say never. I do think that FGCU can match up with them a little bit. I do think that Oklahoma needs to extend their will on them a little bit. I think they're stronger, bigger, that kind of deal. So if they do that, I think they'll be fine. But if FGCU starts shooting the lights out, which they're very capable of doing,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Very interesting.
Yeah. I'm in one of Chad Leifsko's text groups, and he was saying that he reported that it's spring break, obviously, in Oklahoma for the university, and that there's not a lot of students on campus, so it's pretty dead. So I don't know what the environment's going to be like. I am very curious to see that because I know Carver's been rocking whenever we have home games over spring break. But, but I'm very curious. But my second question, and it kind of connects women's basketball with the men's program. I wanted to ask you, Corey, and maybe you would know a little about this, about talking kind of about the comparisons between the women's team's NIL and the men's team's NIL for spending. I just had a really good question about it because, obviously with the coaching change about like what the difference is and how, we've been able to have such a successful women's program in the portal too. Like what your take on that is.
Well, I think this is all relative. I don't know the exact numbers. I know there have been numbers tossed around for both the men's and the women's programs, but it's all relative. I just think competing against the other people, there's obviously more money nationally for college basketball on the men's side, and it's not even close. But I think I don't think there's any question Iowa's more competitive nationally on the women's side. So, I mean, I don't think it's so much about how much money for the Iowa men versus how much money for the Iowa women. It's more so how does the money, the NIL funding for any given program compare to the rest of the country in that sport. And it's clear Iowa's ability to go get Lucy Olson last year is an indicator. I don't know what she made, but it's an indicator that Iowa has some people who are willing to pony over some dough because she was one of the top transfers last season. But they also had an opportunity to go get somebody else. They could have really benefited from another big. I think a more experienced big. Not that they're not decent there, and Ava Hyden's come on late, certainly. But I do think they're still limited. So I don't think they can compete with South Carolina. I'm sure they can't compete with LSU. I'm sure they can't compete with the people out at UConn. Kachine, I know you didn't play during the portal era, but you think what I'm saying is fair without knowing the exact numbers?
No, it's funny because I think that Iowa women's basketball didn't become a thing because of the NIL scenario. I think that people aren't coming to Iowa right now. We're not talking about later or anything of the sort. I don't think people are coming here for that reason. I think men's basketball is very, very different in regards to money. Because if I'm going to be honest with you, before that rule, they were already doing that just under the table. Right. That was not a thing in women's basketball. It wasn't even that. Nobody was exchanging money like that. So for men's side, that's all they care about is the money of it. They care about how much I'm going to make or this, that, and the third. Women isn't fully driven by that. I'm not going to say some aren't, but they aren't fully driven by that. So I don't think that Caitlin was going to get Caitlin regardless. So she ain't need anybody for what she got. And I don't think that other players are make or break coming to Iowa because they don't get $3 million or whatever the case is. I don't think that has been the case thus far.
You don't think that some of these players like the Paul Big that transferred to LSU and the what's her face that's at UCLA Betts, you don't think those came down to money?
I think that she transferred there. Yeah, she was getting money, but I don't think she transferred there solely because of that. Men's basketball is solely because of that. They're not transferring because of other things. Yeah, they're transferring for money.
At the top. But Drew, at the top, but like Drew Thelwell didn't come to Iowa for money.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. I don't think that Anissa Morrow only went to LSU or Haley Van Lith at the time only went to LSU because of that. They were at the top. They were at the top of the transfer list, those two. I don't think that was the case. But I do think the men top of the transfer list are leaving for money. That's the reason why they're choosing whatever school they're already choosing. And majority of those people have already chosen what school before they even get in the transfer portal. So all of that's already been worked out. That's all I'm saying. It's just women's basketball isn't that yet. I mean, it might be later, but it just isn't that. We were already behind the 8 ball with money to begin with. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. I was talking there yesterday to my mom, and we were talking about looking at Iowa 5-6 years ago compared to now money-wise on the men's and the women's side. Like, obviously, I'm still very young, but I remember going to Megan's retirement for her jersey back in 2020 before Caitlin Clark. And that stadium, there was quite an amount of people, but there were still a lot of open seats back in the winter of 2020. And I remember they would just give away tickets for cheap because my mom was a teacher in Iowa City. And so for me to look at a different perspective as like, I remember being at that game and they were letting us move up almost to like court side because they were so, to now where you can't even get a seat into the University of Iowa for games. And then you look at the men's perspective as 5 years ago, it was really hard to get seats for the men's games because, back in that Garza era-ish, the seats were, it was pretty good. It was probably a little bit higher than the women's, but not exceeding expectations. So looking at it now where the men's program has sank so much and the women's program has gained so much, like, not so much of how do we get the men's program back up, but how can we kind of get it to a way where we can even out these platforms for Hawkeye fans?
It's chicken egg thing, right? I mean, a program can suck because they don't have funding, but they also don't have funding because they suck. Like, and I'm not saying Iowa, like, there's a lot of good history here for the men's program. I still think they can win. I don't think it's a dumpster fire. These people that think, oh, they're losing everybody. What a disaster. I've seen these people just turn on Beth Getz. They fired a great person. Look, it's great that you feel that way. And I'm not saying you're wrong that Fran is a great person, but I haven't for 1 second since this happened questioned the decision to let Fran McCaffrey go. But here's the deal, Landon. It's going to take the right person. And I don't know if they can get Ben McCollum because I think Ben McCollum is going to be wanted by other people.
I said they're going to need a creative person because we didn't get Caitlin Clark because of money. We got Caitlin Clark because she wanted to win a national championship in her home state.
Well,
because she ain't want to leave nowhere. She wanted to stay right here. She could have went anywhere she wanted. Now, mind you, she did have a relationship with Bluter and everything else, but
she's from
majority of it was she wanted to stay home. Thankfully, that was Iowa. But
the problem is the men's, they don't have these
I understand
players in state.
I understand. My point is that they have not upgraded since like 2012 or 2013 or something. Because I remember the new everything was happening once I left. It was just starting once I left. So it's been a while since we have upgraded our facilities. We're behind the 8 ball in that aspect. And these kids care about facilities. We haven't done that. Okay. We haven't, of course, we've already talked about the money issue. So we're not going to go there. Those are 2 negatives in recruiting that you can't.
Hold on real quick. You really think that these, I know the athletes 10 years ago, and when you played, cared about facilities, but you really think players today care? Everybody's got updated facilities, Kachine.
We don't.
Well, I don't.
It's still a factor. I'm not saying it's the all deciding factor, but it's still a factor. If I have a choice to go to a school that has better facilities, okay, let's say no NLI, let's say no money, but one school has better facilities, I'm going there. I'm spending majority of my time there.
Sure.
So if you got better facilities, you got better training, you got all of this fancy stuff, I'm going there. These colleges have barbershops in their things. They got hair salons and whatever else they got in. They have all of this stuff. And I'm not saying that that's the end all be all, but it's still up there. And so if we don't have money, our facilities are behind the 8 ball, you already negative. You already down 2. Yeah. So whoever comes in is going to have to be very creative with their recruiting approach in order to get us out of this.
I agree.
That's all I'm saying. You got to be creative.
Corey, I just got one more question.
Sure. Let me just add one more thing, Landon, and then I'll let you go. I want to make sure very clear. They're going to have to figure out a way, and Fran did a nice job of this on several levels, finding the diamonds in the rough.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever comes in here is not going to have some huge NIL budget to go get a bunch of highly rated and regarded players out of the portal. They're going to have to find a bunch of diamonds in the rough. They're going to have find a bunch of Philip Rabrachas, Drew Thelwells, Bakari Evelyn's, and figure out a way to, because it's not going to take one, it's not going to take 2, it's going to take a bunch of those guys that can't demand these lump sums that other highly regarded portal prospects can. Same with high school, but if we're talking winning immediately, if they're going to turn this thing around quickly, you're going to have to fit. And so some of that's going to come down to, like, if they can get Ben McCollum, can they bring a couple of guys from Drake who are ready to go at the next level? Sturts would be the start, but to say it doesn't all come down to money and facilities, because there are individuals that are not yet regarded highly, that can't demand much, but that's artistry, right? Kachine, you've recruited.
I agree. That's why I said they got to get creative.
Being able to identify those people that have not yet landed nationally. Fran was able to do that in some regards, but the next person is going to have to be really good at doing that here in the first couple of off seasons.
Correct.
Yeah. So my last question before I leave is I just want to just ask you a quick kind of question following up on that. So, like, the last couple of days I've been DMing Evan Bronze and Riley Mulvey, and I've been talking to them on Instagram, and I just kind of asked them about how they felt about a lot of this stuff. And, obviously they gave me pretty dry responses, but what I kind of got out of some of those conversations was that, like, this Iowa team is very special to them. And obviously you can see it from Fran. Like, I made a Fran tribute on YouTube. I would totally recommend checking it out. I worked on a video going through Fran's career and what he did, but I think the major thing I just wanted to ask is that, do you think, and we're kind of learning this in football, that Iowa's kind of losing that identity of having, like, trust within their players, and that this isn't all for money, and that we're here as a university to, like, play all 4 years. We play football, we play a very conservative side of football. Basketball, we play a very fast pace. Like, do you think we're kind of starting to lose that Iowa identity? I mean, think about the last year. We've lost Brian Ferentz. We've lost, obviously, Lisa Bluter to retirement. And now we've lost Fran, and Kirk's probably coming in the next couple of years. Like, this is a new dawn and a new day for the Hawkeyes. So before I leave, I just want to ask you, man, what are your thoughts on, like, the future of these programs?
Well, I don't think they lost Brian Ferentz.
Obviously, he got fired.
I think they gained an offense without Brian Ferentz. I think that's how I would term that. But yeah, it's a new generation. But we knew this when Jordan Bohannon and all these kids were pushing for NIL and having the ability to get paid. Kachine, you had to know that Iowa was going to struggle in that world, just like they struggle. Like, even if Iowa wanted to play dirty before, and I don't think they've had too many coaches that have done that, they weren't going to be able to do it and still compete with the big names out there because they don't have the assets, the resources, the donors that some of the other programs do. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just harder to compete, actually compete like they have in the past with this new era. It's nobody's fault. I don't think I don't link like the Brian Ferentz thing. Like, that's, yeah, again, I take exception to that one. But I mean, do you have any thoughts on Landon's comment, Kachine?
I mean, I agree with the Ferentz one. I mean, I think that was a wash anyway. It's so really bad. But I think we're just moving into a different time. That's what I'm going to say, right? Because Lisa Bluter and Fran McCaffrey were long-standing for years, a long time, right? So with that being said, I think we're just moving into a different time. Regardless of the case, that's just what it is. And every school has to go through that. I mean, coaches retire. Or in this case, one retired, one get fired, but whatever, it's all the same, they leave. But for us, we had those coaches for a long time. So it's going to be interesting what the next few years turn into. I'm excited to see what they do turn into. Say that.
Absolutely. Let's see. Okay. Why don't we go ahead and, first of all, we got a couple comments here in the chat. We have Tyler, one of our regular callers, who's in the queue to hop on here and talk. We got about 10, 15 minutes left here where we're going to just continue to talk about everything. I didn't really know where this was going to go. Of course, we'll be here after the Murray State game. And, hopefully we're talking about a trip to the second round and then potentially a trip beyond that. By the way, I'm not going to ask you to divulge your bracket yet until the first games get played, Kachine, but do you think Iowa makes the second weekend?
You just said you're not going to tell me. You're not going to ask.
Well, I'm asking you one aspect of it.
You're telling me to divulge it. Come on, Corey.
I think they make the second weekend. I really do. I really do think they'll make the second weekend. Let me go ahead and share. Well, actually, you know what? We've got Tyler here on standby. Folks, we're going to take a quick, because I think we had a little bit of an issue with our friends over at Iowa Floor Covering. It wasn't their fault. We're going to take a quick 30-second ad break. We'll be right back, finishing up with your calls, and we'll also talk about that ESPN Women's Basketball Bracket Challenge here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. We'll be right back. Let me introduce you to one of the proud supporters of From the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa Floor Covering down in Bondurant. Now, for the last year and a half, you've heard me talk about this great company in the heart of central Iowa. They've got their tough core, click together, 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring, great for you DIYers out there. But even if you're just a contractor or you need a different type of flooring, they've got you covered, whether it be tile showers, carpet. Give Iowa Floor Covering a chance to serve you better and serve your flooring needs. Visit them online at iowafloorcovering.com. That's iowafloorcovering.com, or you can give them a call at 515-379-7000. That's 515-379-7000. Thank you to Iowa Floor Covering in Bondurant. All right, we appreciate Iowa Floor Covering, of course, for making our Hawkeye Hangout live shows possible. And we've got Tyler, who's on hold, along with several other people. But I want to share real quickly the group that we just launched. We had this last year, and again, I've just been slow at getting all this together. It's obviously been a very busy week, not to make excuses with the men's basketball situation, but it's been a very busy week. So we've got this launched to our caller on the phone line. We're going to put you on hold. come right back to you here in a minute. But this is our women's basketball challenge, our group. So if you click on From the Hawkeye of the Storm, once you go to the link, I see it looks like who was it that already said she had joined? It was a Barbara or Kelly or someone else in our chat, I think, said they'd already joined. But this is the group. This is what it looks like. So you can join and, of course, enter your bracket, make your selections if you've not already done so. And no prizes this year, so maybe that takes away some of the motivation. But you can go ahead and do that. Again, it's the ESPN Women's Bracket Challenge, Tournament Challenge. And these are my picks here. So I haven't made them yet, as you can see, officially on the ESPN site. So you have 16 hours to do that. But again, the group is called From the Hawkeye of the Storm. So be sure you join. It's in the description, or you can just search that when you go over to ESPN's Bracket Challenge. All right, let's go to our next caller. We got Tyler here on hold. Tyler, welcome to the show, sir.
Good evening, guys. I just have a few questions, and I'll get out of the way. Something I've always wanted to ask Kachine is, as a player, what's March like for you? Because during the season, you're guaranteed a next game. It goes on. And then all of a sudden you get to March, and your next game could be your last. How does that affect you as a player? Does it change anything, or did it for you anyway? Or do you try to approach this as you would any other game?
No, I did not approach this as every other game. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and you do not live to fight another day. If you do, what is up with the red?
Don't. I don't know.
What is happening?
StreamYard was doing some weird stuff earlier, and I think they saw Tyler's little red circle there. So I'm going to blame Tyler. I don't know why it says anything about a call-in show on Thursday. So just ignore that.
I'm going in. Okay.
Go ahead, Tyler. Why does it say that? This is not an Ohio State show.
Yeah, it was throwing me off. I can't do red. So, anywho, yeah, it's you don't live to fight another day. So you have to definitely lock in and give it your all, because you can rest tomorrow when you lose. So that's kind of my approach.
I mean, did you lose any sleep over it, or the games that you played in the tournament, or just, any heightened nerves or anything like that?
No, I don't think I really had much nerves like that. I think it was more so it's still another game, but at the same point in time, I just think that the approach is kind of like the Big Ten tournament, if that makes sense. Like, think about if you're on the bubble and you got to make every game to make it somewhere. I think for me, that was just how I approached it. It's do or die scenario. But it didn't make me nervous. I wasn't that kind of player anyways. So
okay,
I got
excited. She didn't get nervous.
No, I got excited. I was the opposite. I was like, I got too high. Like,
you never got nervous?
No, I got too high. That was my problem. It's like I'd get too high and then I'd crash.
So how did that manifest itself when you got to that emotional plateau, when you were, you could say too high?
Yeah, I learned pretty early in my career that I can't get too jacked up, because then I end up being like overly aggressive, and then I end up fouling, and then there's a whole just like downhill. So I always had to like listen to specific music, like that kind of thing. I might have like very focused was my change, but I didn't get excited. I stopped getting myself to that point and just became more like beeline focused. Because you kind of have to keep your emotions out of it. You got to keep your emotions in check, which is half the battle.
Now, coming to the Murray State game, and Murray State makes me nervous for reasons that have already been pointed out on here. Something I asked Kyle the other night when he was on with regarding to a different game. If you, Kachine, were making a scouting report on how to defeat Iowa at this point in the season, what would you write in that scouting report?
You can't ask her that.
Why?
You can't ask her that, because
why not?
I mean, what do you mean why not? Because the games haven't been played. If you really want some other listen, she's coached Division I basketball, Tyler. What if one of these coaches happens to come across the podcast?
It's a different way to ask a question like, what do we need to do to win? Do something a little bit different.
Let me see how I can answer this, but not in full.
That's a good question, Tyler.
I think that Iowa struggles with pressure.
Okay.
I mean, anybody could watch film and decide that. So I think that when Iowa gets sped up is when we struggle. I think whoever plays us offensively for them, they have to be in attack mode at all times. As soon as they're on their heels or they're like not in attack mode is when we tend to like start revving up. Like that's kind of like and then the other thing is Taylor McCabe. You have got to stop those flurries of threes. Anytime she starts hitting 1 or 2 threes, I don't know what it is, but it fuels us somehow, some way. I don't know why, but it does. So if you can stop us from shooting threes in general and you guard the 3-point line, you're in pretty good shape.
Now, when you talk about pressure and applying it, that led me to another question. Are you comfortable at this point in time with this team as far as the turnover issues? Because it has plagued us throughout the year, or the team, I shouldn't say us, but are you comfortable with where they are right now as far as how they're passing and how the turnovers or lack thereof?
Am I okay with where we are? Yes. Am I comfortable? Hell no.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what does comfortable look like for you? I mean, obviously 0, if that's possible.
No. It's not even that. Comfortable is knowing that we have multiple people who are wanting to take over the ball, meaning Lucy has done a very good job. She's the reason why we've gotten better. It's because she's always coming back to the ball. She's always willing to help other people out. We have a lot of players that shy away from it. And that's when you start to turn the ball over because they don't really want it. They don't really want it. So that is when I would be comfortable because I have more than just Lucy coming back to actually get the ball. Now, Aaliyah is good. Don't get me wrong, but she's also a freshman. And it always makes me nervous.
And she's also struggling of late.
It is what it is. But, I mean, she's better than the other options. But still. So that's why I said that.
Are there any other players besides Aaliyah that you would like to see step up to, not take the weight off Lucy? Is there anybody in particular or just the team as a whole?
I would hope Sydney, but that's like her kryptonite. Like she just can't, I don't know what it is, but she freaks out back there. I don't know what it is, but she really struggles in the press. So, I mean, I would hope that would be fantastic at the 4 position, but I don't know. She really struggles.
Okay. Guys, that's all I had. Thank you very much for taking my call as always, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Tyler. Good stuff. We got a couple of super chats coming in here. Annie, thank you so much for that.
Annie.
Appreciate you being here, Annie. And Lomansky in Beth and Cash, I trust.
Ooh.
Thank you, Lomansky.
Ooh, Beth boy, she in the hot seat right now. Go ahead. I don't want to be her. Go ahead.
She's not in the hot seat.
Let me tell you why. The women's team is huge right now for Iowa. Okay? The men's are barely getting anything. People are upset.
Yes.
Pitchforks, the whole night, right? This hire might be one of the most important ones she makes right now in her career. So with that being said, it's going to be the first one. Now, if she ever, whenever, Kirk Ferentz decides to do whatever he do, then that'll be the next one.
Yep.
But this is the first one.
And the football one will still be the biggest one she's ever made.
For sure. But this is the first huge test for her. And that means
get it right. Got to get it right.
Because if she doesn't get it right, people are going to be even more pissed off or very on edge when the football one comes about at some point. They're not going to be feeling too comfortable.
Right.
So that's why I said she in a hot seat. Because if she gets this one right, it kind of eases everything else.
And she's in a difficult position, but I stand by the decision that she made. Tundra Blitz says, Coach, Corey should be allowed to enter you into the portal, like it or not. College coaches should be able to, too.
I ain't got it.
Why am I going into the portal?
I'm lost.
Coach Corey should be allowed to enter you into the Coach Corey. I don't know how to read that.
When was that? Was it recently? Like, was I on the show?
I didn't get to it for a while. This is earlier. I don't know what it means.
Fantastic. All right.
Bobby's given us some good numbers on the Racers of Murray State. They are scoring 87 points per game. Number one in Division I. Katie Young, averaging 22 and 6. Talked about that. Also 3
Hannah
points. Is that Hannah or is that Sid? I'm assuming
who's the 5 player.
At first I said Hannah. At first I said Sid because she's only 6'1", but then I'm like, they don't play anybody bigger.
Yeah.
So
we'll figure it out.
It's going to be
maybe Hannah could guard somebody else. We'll figure it out.
And then season low by LSU and Bama, 8 and 10 points respectively for her. Number 2 scorer, of course, is Hallie Pook, who's a sophomore guard, averaging 17, 4, and 4. Is this a game for Ava Hayden? I know a couple of people in the chat bring up that with Iowa's clear advantage in the size category, or is this something where we see maybe it's Addison O'Grady go off like she did against Drake earlier in the year? That's a Missouri Valley Conference team that she did that against in an app center.
Somebody is going to have to take a back seat, right? Somebody. Because when we was playing Ava, who didn't play? So I'm very curious. I do think our post play should be very good if they play man-to-man. Because if they play man-to-man, we should pound it inside all day long. Because I do think Ava, Hannah, anybody should be able to have a good game. 6'1" versus 6'1" is all the same to me. So I'm assuming Hannah's probably more athletic than their post player, so she should be able to do well. And then the other two, I mean, that's just wide body. So, I mean, I feel we should be good there in that aspect. I'm just curious to see who comes off the bench first.
Lomansky, appreciate the super chat. Once again, Lomansky, low bar for Beth. She follows Barta. Have faith in the Hawks, I think that's what he meant to say there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, low bar. Although Gary Barta did hire Fran, and that was overall a good move in the long run. But good things come to an end typically, and now it's like you say, it's the most important thing an AD does is hire and fire, and the hire is more important than the fire. Anybody can fire, but you got to be able to find the right person. Especially now, it's just hard to do in this era, and to know what to prioritize, who to prioritize, and who can give you the support, get you the support that you need. Bobby says, what are your thoughts on this long layoff? Good or bad for the women?
It can go either way, honestly speaking. It really depends on what the coaches and the team focus on. So I think it's a great time to figure out how to play with 2 bigs, but that's just my opinion.
Let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling Hawkeye Hangout here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
It's a great time to figure out how to play.
Hi, this is Annie from New York.
Hi, Annie.
Hi. I really enjoy the show. And just a couple of things. The record, Iowa's record, I don't think it reflects as badly as it looks, because a lot of the losses they had were very close games. A lot of single-digit losses. And I think since then, and the losing streak, I think I've seen a really good improvement in the team. I just think one of their fallbacks is the turnover thing. I hope they don't play sloppy. And the foul shooting kind of hurt them this year. But I think overall, Jan did a very good job keeping them together. She's very good at keeping them cohesive. And they have a great spirit. And I think that can carry them. I mean, do you think they have a chance to make it to the Sweet 16?
I think they will make. I think they will make the Sweet 16 because I think they're better than everybody. So. I think they're better than all 3 of the teams left in that second. They're better than South Dakota State. They're better than FGCU. Excuse me, and I think they're better than Oklahoma. But the question is going to be. I brought this up earlier. This is when you get to play out of conference, Kachine. The matchups are different.
Yes,
and I was not as versatile. Personnel standpoint as they have been. Now, you seem to downplay the whole guard thing. I said before you jumped on that I was a little nervous with the potential speed and quickness that this team presents, and I'm sure without looking at FGCU's roster, they're 30-3, and they're a really good program. We've talked about them. They probably have some pretty good guards, although I don't know that they're traditionally as athletic as like a Murray State out of the Missouri Valley. I do wonder about dribble penetration because those teams can shoot threes. Both of those mid-major teams could shoot threes. So even if FGCU upsets Oklahoma, that's no gimme to get to the third game.
No.
if you can break Iowa down and the defense collapses down, they got like this team they're playing Saturday. They have players that can shoot the three lights out. So I know. Why aren't you concerned, Kachine, with Iowa's ability to stay in front of people?
Because I don't remember me saying anytime this year that we couldn't guard. Like I don't remember me saying like, my God, they're killing us in the paint. I don't remember that. I don't remember ever saying that we couldn't stay in front.
Well, how many times? As I say, it's been a long. There aren't as many small, quick, athletic guards in the Big Ten. I mean,
but they're also crafty guards. There's also things like that. So I think that's why. And I feel like I'm giving the nod to us because we've proven all season that our defense is what is giving us wins. So my mindset is that when we didn't think that we would have trouble matching up with people, we didn't. So that's why I'm giving the nod to us defensively because we've done it all year.
I think they're quick on defense. I mean, especially Kylie, they're scrappy. Lucy scrappy. They got a lot of quickness. So that's important on defense. And, you know, as I said, their record really reflects a better team than 10 losses. I mean, a lot of those losses were like 1 point, you know?
Yeah, by the way, to our person in the chat who says that I'm more worried about a mid-major than what we see in conference play, did I ever say that? I'm talking about specifically about guard play and maybe exploiting an Iowa weakness, and I'm specifically talking about one of Iowa's starting guards, and that's Taylor McCabe, who we have talked about over the last couple of seasons being...
She's been holding her own, though.
She's been holding her own. She's been holding her own. But like I said, I wonder about matchup-wise if that's the one area where a team like Murray State could exploit Iowa. I think they're going to have a hard time.
Are you telling me they have 3 straight guards who are just equally as quick?
I mean, I've not watched enough of.
Because she's gonna be on the weakest guard. That's just what it is.
I just know,
like she's always been.
Hallie Pook is 5'6", and
she won't be guarding her.
Haven Ford is probably their quickest player. She's also 5'6". Both those players average over 15 a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so there's
Who's
2 right there. Huh?
Who's the third one?
Well, Ava Learn, who is probably playing the 4, I guess. She's listed as a guard, but she's...
Yeah, I need a guard, though. Who's the other guard?
She's 6'1", 14 and 10.
Who's the other guard? That's going to be Sydney. Who's the other guard?
Let's see. I'm guessing...
The fact that you can't find them is exactly who she's going to be guarding.
Briley Pena, who's 5'4".
Great.
Briley Pena is 5'4".
That's who she'll be guarding.
5'4". Kachine, huh?
Whoever that third guard is, that's who she will be guarding.
All right. Well,
there's always one person, one guard that is not good.
That last guard,
not the greatest.
Well, that last guard doesn't need to be a great scorer. They just need to be able to attack her.
Let me tell you why. And anybody that's playing us, if they have like a Taylor McCabe on their side, they're going to guard Taylor McCabe. Because it's easy to guard a shooter than a driver. So all you got to do is run through screens. All you got to do is get around screens. So you put your weakest defender on the shooter. Because all you got to tell them is stay glued to them. You ain't got to worry about them going by you because they're not going by you. So, yeah. She going to guard whoever that third one is.
There you go, folks. Kachine says, do not worry about Murray State.
I ain't say all that. What I said was.
You basically said that.
Not what I said. I said I still feel good about us.
Have you given me what's the avenue for Murray State to beat Iowa? I'm giving you what I think to be the potential avenue is they've got really small, quick guards. Mm-hmm. Even if they're not bit like this third one might not be as good. I mean, she doesn't have the stats to back it, but my guess is she's going to be quicker than Taylor McCabe is, and so she's going to be able to break her down potentially. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm saying that.
But then you just tell her to use her length. She's got how many inches on her? You ain't got to be all up on her for what? You can guard both. That's the thing. People used to put taller people on me for that reason. Because they could affect my shot to a degree, but still have a cushion. because they were longer. So, I mean, either way, I'm not, like I said, I feel good about the game and us coming out with it. But like I said, we have also seen the Iowa team that we do not know. So that's all I'm saying.
Anything else?
Yeah. No, I just want to know what you thought their chances were, but I'm pretty good with Sweet 16. Yeah. And like I said, I think Jan did a good job since the losing streak. They seem to really turn that around and more positive, and just the turnovers. I hope that doesn't kill them in the foul shots, because that's how they lost most of their games. So if they can clean that up, I'm I don't
think Murray State's not going to really be able to. They're not going to be able to do anything press-wise that some of these other teams are going to be able. They just don't have the length, for one. So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well, listen, thanks a lot, you guys. Let's hope we have some good luck Saturday, and go Hawks. And you guys are great. It was a great show.
Appreciate that, Annie. Have a great day. All right. We've got one final caller before we get to our final caller. Sam says he saw a ton of Hawkeye fans in Norman today. Should be well represented on Saturday. So Sam's down in Oklahoma. Michael says, if Miss Corey and Cash, hit that like button, folks. Yes, hit the like button. Any final thoughts before we get to our final caller, Kachine? Any final thoughts on this region?
I'm excited. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm excited. I think there's gonna be a little bit more upsets this year than we probably have seen in overall than we've seen in the women's side of the brackets, which is a great thing for women's basketball, by the way. But keep going.
I agree. And I don't think it's a bad draw. Like I say, I don't know that Iowa could beat UConn in the Sweet 16, but I think they're going to get there. I just don't think that's a great matchup. But we'll talk about that if and when it happens, because it won't be till Saturday. Let's go to our final caller. Thank you for calling Hawkeye Hangout here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
It's Angelo again for the second time today. But this is probably a stupid comment, but when we get full court press by a team that can really full court press us, and we turn the ball over, and they go in for a layup, have Ava Hayden run back to the basket so she can just do it every once in a while. Run back to the basket to be the rim protector. That's my only comment. So it's probably stupid, probably won't work, but Kachine's smart enough to figure that out. I know she is. So thank you.
Thank you, Angelo. Kachine, any thoughts on that theory?
I think I might have been confused with what he was saying. So help me out.
Well, I think he said have Ava Hayden, since Murray State likes to play fast.
Oh, you don't want her to offensive rebound? Absolutely not. Let me tell you why. If that's what he's saying, just get back.
Right. Yeah. I believe that's what he's saying.
Here's the reason why I feel like Ava Hayden needs to play over Addison, because of that reason right there. Because Ava is going to be able to crash the boards hard. We have to crash the boards hard because it stops them from transitioning. If you can make baskets, it stops them and slows them down from transitioning. If you have more size than they do, then you have got to own the paint. So now you are crashing the boards. We should have 20-some boards up, and now it slows them down. Ava can still and Hannah can offensive rebound and get back. Addie, that might be harder to do because now she got to go transition with a 6'1" gazelle that's going to be running the floor. That might be a little harder to do. So that's why I feel like Ava probably should get the nod over that because of that reason.
Good stuff. Copper Stacker's got Iowa winning it all. So how about that?
Hey.
Lisa, thank you for being here, Lisa. She says she's excited, peaking at the right time. Go Hawks. Josh wants you to coach the men.
I'm sorry, what?
You are going to coach the men, and you are going to recruit.
That would be fun. Be the first women's, woman coach to coach the men. Whatever, however you want to say that. That'd be fun.
I'm just hoping that Jan doesn't lose anybody on her staff. So that's all I'm hoping for.
Maybe.
I just hope that she doesn't. All right. Let's see here. Sam says he lives in Oklahoma. So how about that? Charles says, if Iowa goes to the Sweet 15, would 16. You rather? Mm-hmm. Says 15. Would you rather play UConn or Oklahoma? I would rather, first of all, Oklahoma, they're going to play Oklahoma in the second round, Charles.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would rather play Oklahoma, but then they don't have an option. If they get past Oklahoma, it's likely UConn. Now you could.
So who's the other one? UConn or who would we possibly play over there? Let me see.
Oklahoma State or South Dakota State.
So we would play Oklahoma. Yeah.
That's UConn. It would be a miracle. And like I said, I just don't know that Iowa. We'll deep dive into that if it happens. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the great show. Women's sports need continued coverage and promotion. Well, we do our best there.
Agree.
We do our best there. So, folks, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, you can email info@from the Hawkeye of the Storm to inquire. Info@from the Hawkeye of the Storm.com. Even if it's just a March Madness special sponsorship deal there, we can certainly talk about that and reach out. Info@from the Hawkeye of the Storm.com. You can also donate in the description or by super chat. And folks, myself and Kachine, we will be back this weekend. Hawks and Racers on Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time on ESPN. Any final thoughts on the game? Any predictions you want to throw at us, Cash?
I'm not throwing out any predictions right now. Tune into Twitter, and I will do that when we play.
Okay. Follow both of us on Twitter, @Kachine Alexis, and I'm @From the Hawkeye on X.
Yeah, I think I'm going to add something fun. I haven't decided what yet, but tune in that day because I'm going to throw out a couple different polls that I think should be interesting.
Good deal. We'll blast them out there. And folks, I understand Hawkeye men's basketball fans are rather intrigued by a game that's going on right now, March Madness. So we'll close it there. Drake and Mizzou, matchup of maybe Iowa's future head coach versus their old guard, Tony Perkins. So enjoy March Madness this evening on the 4 major Turner Sports Networks. And we will talk to you after Iowa and Murray State Saturday, right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm Iowa postgame with Kachine. We'll talk to you soon.